Like Joe Lossett versus Sam Pardee. We've got Blue, White, Red Miracles on one side, Bug, Delver on the other, and Lossett down a game here.
Not the easiest matchup. I think this is probably the toughest of the Delver strategies for Joe to play against because he can't lean on counterbalance. Against Rug Delver, you just counterbalance top, locks out most of their ones, but the Bug deck has Abrupt Decay. They can blow up counterbalance, so it's much harder for Joe to establish the lock.
On Joe's side, again, he has some minor cosmetic changes that we will get to in just a little bit here. But as far as Pardee's Bug Delver deck is concerned, we've just got some pretty run-of-the-mill stuff here. It's actually
blue, white, red, apologies, I believe we have the wrong descriptor up there.
Yeah, it's actually Blue, White, Red Delver, not Bug Delver, so we do apologize at home. Nothing too crazy going on here. You've got your Delvers, your Stoneforges, one main deck Grim Lava Man, so I suppose that's something unique that is happening here. A Vendilion Click and a True Name Nemesis. He's split on those instead of just the two true names, but nothing too crazy going on for Pardee.
The one copy of Grim Lava Mancer, probably a concession to the fact that Elves has risen a lot in popularity. Grim Lava Mancer, one of the best cards you can have against that deck.
Well, we'll be underway in game number 2 here in just a moment. Again, Pardee able to win game number 1 over Lossett. Sam Pardee, plenty of accomplishments. Grand Prix, Albuquerque, runner-up, fantastic Malira pod player. We've seen him do well in the Open Series as well. Just a really, really good Magic player who made the trip out here from California to do battle.
Yeah, I was actually on the flight with his buddy Nathan Holliday.
Yep.
Sam was on the flight, if I recall correctly. I slept through most of it, so who even knows? But yeah, a lot of the NorCal players made the trip out for the Invitational.
Sensei's Divine Top is going to eat a Forcible right away, and I like the aggressiveness by Pardee there. It's the best card in Joe's deck, one could argue.
It is the most critical card of his deck, and it makes everything else that he's doing so much more powerful and consistent.
Pardee with a Ponder. Looks like he's going to shuffle away. You saw Lossett just play a Caracas and a Scalding Tarn.
Sensei's Divining Top in Joe's deck is the equivalent of Aether Vial in a deck like Merfolk or Goblins. It just makes everything hum much more efficiently and makes all of his tricks that much more devastating.
Now, if you're wondering if Lossett is still playing a main deck Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast, the answers to those questions, are yes and yes. He still does have those main deck blast effects, which will be important in this matchup. He will play a Flooded Strand as his third land. You see the Brainstorm in his hand right now. A couple other options at his disposal, one of which is Entreat the Angels, a card that plays a huge role in this matchup.
Entreat is a pretty easy path for Joe to win the game. Now, of course, he has to slog through all manner of soft permission in Pardee's deck potentially, but it is, once it resolves for a substantial amount, that is game over.
Lossett will sacrifice a Flooded Strand, go get a basic island, and he will cast a Brainstorm right now. See if this resolves, and it will. So a couple of cards added to the grip, a Wear and Tear among them. You also see a counterbalance, and it looks like a Jace the Mind Sculptor. So if you're Joe, you gotta like the way that this game is going, simply because Pardee has no clock. He's not really, getting after you right now, giving you some time to set up.
A pretty juicy Brainstorm there. I think Joe's still gonna want to slow play it for kind of the reasons you're mentioning. Not under any pressure to move quickly, and well aware of the fact that Sam could have cards like Spell Pierce or Daze in his hand.
A Stoneforged Mystic from Pardee will be placed in the stack. Lossett gives that the A-OK. So it's time to search up an equipment here for Sam. We'll see what option he wants to go with, and it will be a Battered Skull.
Joe, another player who I think if you told him you're going to start off 4-0 in Standard have been very excited about that.
Oh, yeah.
Also the first overall seed in our last Invitational, going into the elimination rounds.
And can't forget that he did EXO the legacy portion of the Invitational, and the Swiss, of course.
Yeah.
So this is where he is most comfortable. He tries to make his way through Standard, which he was able to do last time with Burn, and he did a pretty nice job with Blue-White this weekend, starting off 2-0. Of course, he did have 2 buys, as he's within our top 16 players. Our top 16 players during the particular season get 2 buys at our Invitational.
Yeah.
Council's Judgment is the draw here for Lossett. So we'll see he wants to use that. Of course, that one will take care of Tree Nemesis and some other things. Wouldn't be surprised maybe if we see him fired off right now, but he decides, let's go with a Naked Counterbalance instead.
I think Joe's trying very hard to play around Spell Pierce here, so he's going to try to sequence his spells, leaving 2 mana up as much as he possibly can.
Well, it's not the prettiest thing to leave up a Mountain and a Caracas, but that may get the job done. Looks like Pardee is going to sacrifice a fetch land with this counterbalance on the stack. Maybe as a Spell Snare-esque card. We will see in just a moment.
This card is good enough that I believe it's worthy of something like Spell Pierce and Daze.
Just to keep it off the table because it is so good against Pardee.
Now, maybe Sam doesn't feel like he has to fight that strongly because he has his batter skull in hand. He can try to win the game just that way through counterbalance, but it is a big risk.
Oh, you said spell pierce in days, and that's exactly what does happen. So counterbalance does a nice job of using some of Pardee's resources, but for Pardee, I mean, he's got to be happy that's not on the table.
It's exactly the same thing as Sensei's Divine Top. It just makes everything hum. So it is a 2-for-1, yes, but that card, counterbalance, is worth many more than 2 cards out of Sam in the long term.
Pardee going to play a Misty Rainforest before passing the turn back over to Lossett, who draws a Brainstorm for the turn. You do see a Jace, also a Council's Judgment here as well. Judgment actually has a really unique interaction. For when Stoneforge Mystic is in play, you can just simply cast it, and either they put their Batter Skull into play, and then you choose Batter Skull, or they don't move and you kill Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah.
So a very favorable card in this situation, but Lossett is going to begin with a Brainstorm.
A very flexible removal spell, and definitely something that Joe's in the market for. This deck can get tripped up a couple times when its answers don't quite line up the right way against opposing threats. So just having a really good, Vindicate style catch-all is very helpful for this deck.
Lossett going to put a couple cards back with that Brainstorm. I think the issue here for Joe is that he has not found a 5th land yet. So he may be Brainstorm locked here at the moment. Pardee going to fire off a Brainstorm. So 3 cards coming for Sam as well. Council's Judgment on screen, so we have the image. And this is a fetch land from Pardee. So time to make it a perfect Brainstorm. And you have to imagine he'll be activating Stoneforge Mystic in just a moment.
And that's something that Joe's got to be pretty happy about, even though it's, of course, not great for your opponent to Brainstorm with a fetch line in play. This means that the Wear Tear is very likely to just work on the equipment in play rather than being tripped up by Spell Pierce.
And that's exactly what Wear Tear will do. Batter Skull's going to bite the dust, so Joe is never too concerned about that card, as Pardee is going to take a draw.
And you see there is a Spell Pierce in Sam's hand, so this Batter Skull might have been a little too fast for Joe, given how he's trying to play the game around all this soft permission.
Joe's going to draw a copy of Terminus. Now, of course, he knew that card was on top of his deck. No reason to miracle it right now in this situation. Deciding he would much rather leave up Venser. So in comes Stoneforge Mystic again. And now this is a situation where we might see Joe actually try to buy out a counterspell. Or we might just see a Snapcaster Mage. So Pardee wants to take a look, see what's down here. And the important card is there's Brainstorm down there.
Joe with no shufflers, but Sam has to be conscious of Joe's hand being full of action and probably a little light on land, so any sort of cantrip's really valuable here.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to go Brainstorming, and Spell Pierce is going to take care of that.
And this may open up the door now for Joe to feel comfortable trying to just put something like Jace into play, just slamming something expensive down. Sam's used a lot of soft permission, and I think this Entreat is even better for this.
And it's not exactly Jace, but it does have to be countered.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Spell Pierce is going to do. So Pardee has to have the counter spells at the right time, because Entreat the Angels can just turn this game in a huge way. He does have the Spell Pierce to take care of that. He will untap now with his Stoneforge Mystic. So Pardee keeping his head above water at this point.
Yeah, Joe getting tripped up by just the volume of Spell Pierces and Dazes that Sam has had this game, but Joe is still playing the game in such a way that he may be able to overpower Sam in the not-too-distant future. If any of these haymakers from Joe, and Entreat, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, even something like Counterbalance sneak through, Sam's going to be really hard-pressed to win this game, given the fact that he has no pressure right now.
You see Stoneforge Mystic trade there with the Snapcaster Mage. Let's see what Pardee's follow-up is going to be. This is a copy of Delver of Secrets. Let's not going to take a look at the grip there. There's at least one copy of Terminus. This is a Venser now. I imagine this is on the end step. See if this does anything.
This is another spot where if Sam uses resources killing this thing, Joe is totally happy.
Take a look at Joe's life total. 16.
And with such a powerful hand, and this Divining Top is also a great draw here for Joe, because he doesn't have to jam Jace until he wants to. This Divining Top represents a ton of value over the long term.
Yeah, I think that's actually really interesting. Does he play the Divining Top or the Jace in this situation? Like, you're obviously running your Jace into a daze at this point. You've got a pretty good idea of what's in your opponent's hand. There's a Delver over there that we know about. There's not a lot of cards. If you lead out with Jace, we saw Sam force a will it on turn 1. We're going to see him force a will it again. And that just opens the door for your Jace now. And, which of those cards is better? Who knows? But they're just both great.
The Divining Top is definitely immune to soft permission and is arguably pretty close to as powerful as Jace the Mind Sculptor is on this board. So Joe can test spell this way. And look at that hand.
And there's a probe. You're going to look at 2 copies of Terminus, a Jace, a Vendilion Click, and a Council's Judgment. It's almost ridiculous to say which card is more powerful, Top or Jace, but Top is so powerful in Joe's deck.
It's good enough that it's worth fighting over, and that's all that Joe really cares about. If it resolves, great, and if it doesn't, that's one more permission spell you've moved past en route to getting Jason to play.
And Joe going to cast a Vendilion Click now with the ability to bounce it with Caracas, a Flusterstorm and a Volcanic Island. Joe's going to write that information down. He says, no, you can keep those because now my Jace is good to go.
He has a creature that can trade with the Insectile Apparition, and there's no threat of Joe having this countered, so just a great spot.
You see him, he's going to roll his sleeves up. Jace the Mind Sculptor is going to get a little bit dirty here. Does he want to Brainstorm or does he want to Fate Seal?
With Sam having a fetch line in play and the risk of this, something happening to the Vendilion Click and then the Jace getting pressured, I think Joe's just going to try to extract value with Brainstorms.
2 cards are going to go back from the Brainstorm. There's a fetch land to make it a perfect Jace Brainstorm. No interest in attacking. I imagine that Vendilion Click is going to block immediately if given the opportunity. Top card is a Force of Will, so Insectile Aberration will come to play. And Lossett will record the information that Force of Will is the top card, but he can cross it off now because Pardee is going to sacrifice a fetch land before drawing that card.
And even though Force of Will isn't a horrible draw for Sam in this spot, he just needs to find Lightning Bolt so badly this turn to prevent Joe from just avalanching him with card advantage that he has to shuffle it away.
Quite a few people at home rooting for Miracle Joe. Right now, everyone joining in on the conversation on Twitter, you can do the same at SCG Live, hashtag SCGINVI. There's a Lightning Bolt off the top to get that Vendilion Click off the board. Timely draw there.
Looks lucky, but Sam definitely played the game to get to this spot.
Yep. So Insectile Aberration gets to eat Jace alive, and Pardee, again, just trying to keep his head above water. Will Lossett sacrifice the fetch land or not? We know he put at least 1 copy of Terminus back. Might want the other one right now, though. And that's what it looks like he does want. So Terminus is going to come rolling off the top of the deck. That'll take care of that. You see the way he taps his mana. Going to leave Caracas open. What for? Another Vendilion Click. That's what.
Yeah, he didn't even need the Jace to win this game. He has a more than good enough backup plan.
The reason for that, of course, is because of all those 2-for-1 exchanges. He is the one left with the cards right now.
And all those tempo plays from Sam would have been okay if he had some sort of pressure going the whole time. But you can't sit there 2-for-1ing yourself over and over again if you're not killing your opponent quickly.
Lossett maybe considering Vendilion Clicking now. We might see him do that in the draw step. He's actually just going to let Pardee draw a card at this point. And now it looks like he's going to fire this off and force Sam to answer this. So this is a Vendilion Click. Joe says, I'm going to put Terminus on the bottom of my deck because I would like a new card. Thank you very much.
And this click is totally protected now with that Caracas in play.
Let's not forget about the Caracas that's in Lossett's hand right now as well. He's actually playing 2 copies at this weekend. Sometimes it varies. Sometimes it'll be 1. Sometimes it'll be 2. Either way, it's doing a really nice job here.
And it's what an insurance policy to have in this spot, too.
Yeah, you know, it also makes the Sneak and Show matchup a little better.
A little bit better. Helps a little bit.
So in for 3 comes Lossett. He's looking to close this game out now. You see the time, we're underneath 10 minutes here. Pardee's at 7. Joe knows he needs to get the game over with. It looked like game 1 took a little while, and so he is really speeding things up because he wants to close the door and get on to the next one, and he's in a really good situation right now. Here's a Brainstorm from Pardee.
Yeah. Got to be conscious of the clock when you're playing a deck like Miracles.
Interesting thing, too, to note, that Council's Judgment, that has been in Joe's hand, been there the whole game. Hasn't need to cast it. But it does play a role in this matchup and for this deck overall. I think the Council's Judgment is interesting because this might be the best home for this card.
For sure. I mean, again, this is a deck, if in any other, that's in the market for just something that can answer anything. Because just random stuff can slip through the cracks sometimes. Your removal doesn't line up the right way. Your opponent has True Day Nemesis. You can't find one of your removal spells, etc. One of your sweepers, etc., etc. This is just a really powerful 1 or 2 up for this deck in my mind.
Pardee with a Lightning Bolt. Now he's going to resolve a Ponder. So he's going to shuffle this away. So what Joe did there is Pardee cast a Ponder, and Joe said, I'd like to bounce my Vendilion Click with my Caracas. And Sam said, well, I've got a Lightning Bolt to stop you from doing that. Now I'll shuffle and open up the mystery box in this Ponder. So Joe was trying to close the game out pretty quickly, but that has been slowed a little bit. Now he's, again, looking for one of his door closers, be it Entreat the Angels or Jace the Mind Sculptor. He also has 1 more Vendilion Click in his main deck, assuming he left them all in. Gataxian Probe actually will show you another Vendilion Click. So he's found another one, and it's not going to resolve. So Force of Will, removing Daze. Probe will show you Council's Judgment and a Caracas. So now winning the game for Joe might be a little difficult.
Yeah, he's running out of ways to win the game, and I think Sam will gladly take a 1-0 win in this spot.
Absolutely. What is this going to be? Hey, he found a way to win the game.
Never mind.
I think we might see a fate seal this time.
With Sam having no way to shuffle and Joe up against the clock, I think I would just start doming.
And that die is on 3 right now, so he's going to start by brainstorming. You see a Terminus, a Force Will, and a mystery card. Sam is hoping he draws a lightning bolt here. 2 copies of Terminus, and actually that mystery card, was a counterbalance. So you have to imagine Joe's going to deploy that, and he will leave a mountain up for the Pyroblast that is in his hand. Now he could have put that Pyroblast on top of his deck to counter a 1, but he opted not to.
We'll see what he floated. I'm interested. Because he obviously has to set up whatever he's playing.
Yeah, Terminuses are on top, and there's a lightning bolt. Jeez. Pardee with timely draws here.
Yep.
And Lossett knows the top card of his deck, so he's not going to reveal it. The top card right now is Terminus. The cards he put back were Council's Judgment, then Terminus. Terminus on the bottom, Judgment on top. He drew Judgment for the turn.
And now Sam is able to find one of his 1-mana creatures.
Let's see what this is going to be. This is a Tree Nemesis, but Lossett does have the answer to that in multiple ways. There's a Terminus. Take care of that. Get that off the table. No need to cast Council's Judgment or Red Blast it. So he just passes the turn back over to Pardee, who will take a draw. And now, Papa Joe. No, Vendilion. Jeez. Well, there's a Red Blast. All right, so what Pardee is doing right now, for those of you guys who have never seen this interaction, is when you draw Entreat the Angels, and then you draw it as a miracle, the card is still in your hand. So what he does here is he says, okay, that's fine. I'm going to click it to the bottom. You can't actually play the miracle cost because it's not there. So now what Pardee's doing is flusterstorming this because multiple spells in place on the stack to take care of the Entreat. Now, Patrick, 2 Entreats are gone. 3 Vendilion Clicks are gone. A Venser is gone. A Snapcaster is gone. The Jace count, I believe Joe has cast 2. Top card here is Council's Judgment. Delver's Secret's going to resolve. I believe that Joe Lossett's only way to win this game is 1 copy of Jace the Mind Sculptor.
And that's, I mean, and doing that in under 6 minutes is a real challenge, even if he finds it now.
And Joe goes by. As he does shuffle his deck, there is 1 Jace. You see, it looks like he's going to pull a Volcanic Island in his deck.
And Sam has done a really awesome job of fighting through Joe's, Joe's done a lot of powerful stuff, but he's fought over Joe's ways to literally win the game. And now Joe's running out.
Delver, you don't get to attack just yet. But Lossett is in some trouble here. He's going to cast Council's Judgment. There goes the Delver's Secrets. Pass the turn back over to Pardee. Just a naked counterbalance out there. Joe's going to draw a card. He's looking for Jace. He picks up a Brainstorm for the turn, but he doesn't have a fetch on yet, so he doesn't want to cast it and potentially Brainstorm lock himself. Additionally, he can just set his counterbalance if he needs to. Now, that is a Flooded Strand.
It's a lot of flexibility, and I understand why I sit here forever. Eventually, Joe's going to have to fire this off just to find a way to win in time.
Looks like he's decided Sensei's Divining Top is a good draw, so that's going to come in. This is a Pyroblast on counterbalance. In response to the top, that is a Brainstorm. So Joe's going to try to set up a 1 on top. You see an island and a couple of other cards here. Does he find a 1? The answer, I believe, is yes. See both players with clarification. Yeah. Joe says, I think Joe may have put 3 cards back. Yeah, that looks like what happened. He put 3 cards back instead of 2. So he does mention that to Sam. It looks like it's going to be Brainstorm and Terminus that he wants to put back potentially. He says, now I've put back 2 cards. My apologies. Take care of your Pyroblast with Brainstorm. Top, does it resolve? It does. So the soft lock is in place. But the problem here for Joe is time in the middle of the screen. We're under 5.
He has found his Jace, though.
Does he cast it now, though? There's got to be a little bit of fear here. He's going to draw a card with the top. Now he's going to cast Jace. Pardee immediately goes towards his hand. Is this going to resolve? The answer is yes.
This was really timely.
I think he hasn't ticked it up either time. Every time I felt he's supposed to take it up, I think he's not going to again.
If I'm Joe right now, I'm so worried about being able to finish this game in time.
Yeah.
Given the circumstances, I mean, maybe he waits 1 more turn.
He's going to reestablish the top block and pass the turn back over to Pardee. Pardee's going to untap and take a draw. Is it another timely lightning bolt for the blue-white-red Delver player? It's a Wasteland and a Delver's Secrets.
Well, even Bolt here would be not good because of top balance.
Yep. Well, so that's going to take a look at those cards. He's going to reset his top. He says, I'd like to draw a card if that's okay with you. The answer looks to be yes. Pardee's going to take care of that fetch land. Lossett does not care. Shows a top. Takes care of the Delver.
Really good operations there by Sam, wastelining the fetch lands. Joe's only way to shuffle his deck, and there's no way he shuffles in response with the counterbalance trigger on the stack.
There's a top. Here's a spin from Joe. He wants to take a look at those top 3 cards. Tick-tock goes the clock. We're under 3 minutes now. Now Jace's elevator is moving up. Take a look at the top card. It's a ponder. Lossett says that's fine. Sam, you can have that ponder because I know it's not going to resolve. Pardee just going to pass the turn back in the face of top plus counterbalance. Lossett going to spin that top. He's got to get this show moving, though.
Yeah, he's got to, you know, 3 minutes should be sufficient for Joe to get it done here, but it's tough.
Jace is up to 7. Top card is the Scalding Tarn. He says that's fine as well. Going to play a Flooded Strand. Still has Brainstorm in his hand. He's going to spin top yet again. Not sure exactly what he's looking for. Again, I believe that this Jace, again, just counting his ways to win the game is his only way to win. He does have another Entreat the Angels in the sideboard. So I suppose that could be one card that he's looking for, and I believe he found it.
There we
go.
go.
Entreat the Angels, number 3 from the board, are going to get the job done, and Joe Lossett is going to tie it up.
And now we're looking at, you know, approaching 2 minutes left in the round. I don't even think these players are going to be able to start a third game. We will see, but it's hard to imagine. Not only is it hard to imagine the game starting, it seems very hard for either player to cobble together lethal.
Yeah, the only person who could win this game quickly, I believe, is Sam Pardee. Now, we will make sure that the clock is correct right now because, again, they are in a feature match. Maybe things have been timed back a little bit. We will get confirmation to make sure that that is correct, but it looks like these players will not have the time to finish the third game. Of course, we'll stick and stay for right now. See what happens.
I was really impressed with Sam in that match. I mean, in that game that we just watched there, he did a really good job, even in a losing effort, of sticking his like tricks and removal spells against counterbalance and top to fight as effectively as he possibly could. Very impressive stuff. The wasteland there in response to the counterbalance trigger, the bolt after the draw step, just really good operations from Sam in that game.
Yeah, Sam knows what he's doing. It's not amateur hour here, buddy. He knows what he's doing. So it looks like we're finding out exactly how much time is left in the round right now for you guys. I want to make sure we do have this accurate here for you.
It looks like another spotter is coming over there. Jeff Foster, who I know pretty well.
Yeah, of course. He seems like he's in every tournament nowadays.
He beat me in the second to last round Swiss to block me out of my second invitational top.
Oh,
yeah.
Still bitter?
A little bit.
Okay, it's understandable.
With his Delvers and Snapcasters.
Boo.
Tough guy.
Boo.
When I was playing the Walking Corpse deck.
You deserve to lose then.
Can't gut shot that.
Walking Corpse, huh?
Can't gut shot it.
You are right. You cannot gut shot that. So it looks like some time has been added to the round again because these players did have a feature match here. So
this is a huge deal for Sam, obviously. Fully capable of winning a match at this amount of time.
Lossett going to take a mulligan here. Looks like Pardee may be happy enough to keep. I guess 7 minutes isn't a ton.
No,
These players are going to have to get moving.
When you're in Sam's position right now, you know, it's almost impossible for Joe to beat you in that amount of time, although I guess not entirely impossible because of Entreat the Angels. So you're in a position where you can afford a mulligan a little bit more aggressively, finding a way to win quickly, because it's very hard for you to lose the game even if you take a mulligan.
6 cards here for Joe. Looks like he's going to keep her underway. Delver of Secrets is a good way to steal one.
And he's got the days too, so.
Lossett with an island, will it flip? The answer is no, not yet for Pardee. Scalding Tarn plus an attack for 1. Down to 19. Lossett's going to draw his card. You see a counterbalance. There's also a Brainstorm. A fetch land as well, so he can set up a really nice Brainstorm. Pardee going to reveal a Brainstorm of his own. He's got a fetch land as well, so a nice Brainstorm available here for Sam, but more importantly, Delver does flip, and Lossett's going to go down to 16.
And he's got a lot of way to protect the Delvers too. You see his hand, there's a Pyroblast, the days we mentioned before. Very good opening here for Sam.
Another fetch land here in Misty Rainforest, and simply passing the turn back over to Lossett, who is going to draw a card. Just to Plains before passing the turn back. Pardee going to fire for Brainstorm on the end step with mana available. Lossett asking how many cards do you have? Maybe we'll see a little bit of a response here. It looks like maybe Joe wants to fire off his Brainstorm. Now Pardee, considering if he should respond to this. The answer is no. So a Brainstorm, among other cards, are added to Lossett's grip. You see a Jace there as well, and Shriek the Angels. Other options here for Joe.
Pretty tough to use the Pyroblast there, I think. When certain cards like Jace the Mind Sculptor or Vendilion Click, very worrisome here for Sam, and Joe's close to casting them.
Joe going to sacrifice a Scalding Tarn here to make it a perfect Brainstorm. Going to see what land he wants to search out, but while he does search out a land, Pardee is going to resolve his Brainstorm here, as these players are short for time and know how important it is to try to finish this match. Joe going to go with a basic island. He'll shuffle up and present in a moment as Pardee brainstorms his Brainstorm.
Mm-hmm. Cute.
Thank you so much. Going to put a couple of cards back. Going to sacrifice the Misty Rainforest on his upkeep after he does untap. So a land coming from his deck. We'll see if it's a volcanic or if it's a tundra. And it will be a volcanic island.
And importantly, Sam drew the Batterskull this game, so that Brainstorm really important for a number of reasons. Got to set that one back. And Sam picked up a Flusterstorm on this draw step too, so
pretty big draw.
Just
there for
a lot of protection.
Another attack for 3 from the Delver. Arid Mesa. Lossett wants to try to deploy a counterbalance. We saw Sam fight over this last game. Will he fight over it again? It's quite a good card against him, especially with no top. It's pretty volatile.
It's pretty incredible watching Joe play here. Even in the face of this flip Delver, he's been so patient with his spells, trying to play around the soft permission in Sam's deck.
He knows that he can take some hits from this. He's working himself into Lightning Bolt range, however, as he's sitting at 9. Picked up a copy of Pyroblast. That one's pretty important.
Really important for Joe to have a cheap spell to interact with Insectile Aberration.
Joe says, on my upkeep, I would like to sacrifice my Arid Mason and go down to 8. That's going to resolve. I imagine he's going to search out Basic Mountain, but we could see Volcanic Island here. You know, you have to think that he doesn't want to open himself up to Wasteland, so he's going to get the Basic Mountain.
And Joe's good on blue, so that's another factor too.
Fire off the Pyroblast here at Delver of Secrets. Pardee looks like he's gripping at a Force of Will. Maybe we'll have a little battle.
He has Flusterstorm in hand too. I wouldn't be surprised to see a rather large fight here.
There's a Spell Pierce. Joe says, I'm going to pay 2. That's a Flusterstorm. Pyroblast is taken care of. Pardee going to draw his card for the turn. He's going to play a Misty attack for 3. Lossett's going to go down to 5. These are the kind of wins that Delver Secrets can, put together that no other card can do.
There's got to be some other 3 power one mana
there's the Coddle, but the shell isn't the same.
Correct. Yeah. What do you want to do in Legacy is probably just play a bunch of spells anyway. So reward you for what you want to do.
Lossett looking at a Red Blast right now with this Brainstorm. Puts back that in a Tundra. He'll draw that copy of Red Blast. That is a Scalding Tarn. Now he's got to figure out how he wants to sequence his spells. It looks like he would like to start with the Red Blast, but he's a little bit unsure of himself. He's going to pass the turn back, and he says, all right, let's try this now. Pardee with a Force. Removing a Daze. He'll get on 18, but Lossett's only at 5.
Trying to finish it off. I mean, I think Sam is sensing some weakness here because Joe's been doing very little on his turns.
Yeah. Lossett still on his upkeep is going to cast a Venser. And he says, I'm going to Venser my Red Blast, go down to 4, search out a red source. You removed a Daze to your Force of Will. What are the chances you have another one? There's a Volcanic, there's a Blast. Gee, a Flusterstorm. Pardee's going to draw. He's going to put Lossett down to 1. That's a bump. That is going to do it. Sam Pardee wins an insane match. 2 games to 1. Blue, white, red Delver moving on to 5-0.